Hello everyone! Today's video is about coherence and cohesion. In last week's presentation, which was given by my classmates, you learned that coherence is all about structure and how the ideas are developed through the paragraphs, and how cohesion is about word flow. And we learned cohesion through linking words, for example. We also saw some strategies to improve our writing, which included planning before writing, maybe through brainstorming, the repetition of the key ideas so they would stick in the mind of the reader, proofreading afterwards so we would be sure that the ideas were developed correctly, etc. In today's section, you will learn how to actually develop ideas in a paragraph, which is about coherence, and another method for bettering the cohesion of your essays. So, without further ado, let's begin. Which are these two devices? In matter of coherence, we have the ARE method, and in matter of cohesion, we have thematic progression. Do you want to know how to use them? Let's go. The ARE method is a mnemotechnic rule which stands for the structure that you will have to follow when developing an idea in a paragraph. Affirmation, reasoning, and example. Your affirmation is your thesis statement. What is the main thing you want to say? The reasoning wants to explain this idea and also talk about why it's relevant. And finally, the example helps us understand how this idea would affect somebody in real life. That's why examples are very important, and they are usually not thought about. However, they are very interesting resources so that the ideas that we are developing can have an impact on the reader, and they can really understand what is the worth of developing this idea. Let's take a look at an example so we can better understand what this consists on. Let's say the essay topic is the advantages and disadvantages of living in the city. And as one of your advantages, you want to say that making friends is easier in the city. This would be your thesis statement, your affirmation. Now you have to convince the audience that this statement is true and is relevant. So why is this true? Because there is a wide variety of activities where you can meet people with your interests. And why is this important? This is only an advantage of the city. Your audience will be more likely to understand your idea if you give them an example that they can apply to their everyday life. So as an example, not all villages have drama clubs, but almost every city has a drama club. So, an interesting idea in order to make sure that you are accurately explaining your ideas would be to follow this table, in which you can see every paragraph has one main idea, one main explanation for it, and one main example. You don't always have to follow the ARE method. However, it's a very great resource to make sure that you are explaining yourself accurately and simply. As my English teacher used to say, the most important thing is to keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it correct. This might be very helpful for students like me who usually get tangled up in their own words without really explaining anything. So if you have in your mind a very clear structure of what you want to say, why it is true, why it is relevant, and why and how it could be applied to real life, how it would have an impact, then you have yourself a great paragraph with no need for complicated sentences or subordinated things that don't really matter or explain anything. Keep it short. So, having seen all of this, let's play a game.
And the game is making an essay. Sorry.
So, we're going to use the ADE method to make an outline for an essay with the following topic. Should social media be forbidden for children? Let's look at the table we should be following. We have an introduction, 3 paragraphs, and a conclusion. The ADE method will be extremely helpful for the paragraphs. So, every essay is different, but personally, how I would do it, I would spend the first paragraph to talk about the advantages, the second paragraph to talk about the disadvantages, and the third paragraph to talk about our main opinion. So in the first paragraph, 1 advantage. Children can stay connected with their friends. Reasoning. Why is this true? Because apps like Instagram, Snapchat allows them to connect even though they don't have to be in the same place. Why is this relevant? Because children need to also have a social life, which nowadays happens to also be digital, and they cannot be excluded from that social life because their parents don't allow them to have technologies, for example. And this is how I would develop the outline for an essay using the ADE method. Yay! Which is pretty simple, it's pretty easy, and it saves a lot of time. Maybe you want to develop more than 1 idea per paragraph, then I recommend you use 2 ADE methods, or you embed them through other cohesion structures, such as the following. Thematic progression. Woo! See what I just did there? That is an example of thematic progression. Thematic progression is a very interesting resource in which the ideas are embedded through the paragraphs, not necessarily through connectors, but by either introducing the following paragraph in the last sentence, or by repeating what was said in the last paragraph in the first sentence of your paragraph. This will be better understood with an example. Put more simply, if this sentence finishes with X, the following sentence starts with X. It's just as simple as that. Let's take a look at the following example about an essay discussing life in the countryside versus life in the city. What is the main difference between these 2 essays? The last sentence of the paragraph introduces the following. We can also repeat the main idea of the last paragraph to introduce the next. And now, let's play a little game so you can put this into practice.
And again, the game is about making an essay. Sorry.
This essay is okay. However, we are trying to level up here, so try making it better. So we've seen, in order to have a good writing, coherence and cohesion are vital. Coherence, so we have our ideas structured clearly, and in this the ADE method is essential: affirmation, reasoning, and example. And cohesion, so the word flow keeps the reader engaged. And for this purpose, we've seen thematic progression, which basically is the sentence finishes with X and the following sentence starts with X. All of this, so the only important writing rule is respected. Keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it correct. Never forget. Thank you so much, and see you in another video. Bye! I hope that makes sense.